Even with the summer of anime 2015, with already its third week raging on, Arslan is not going down without a fight, because it is letting us know that it's from spring 2015, and it's still a damn good series, because this week's episode, we get to see Arslan and how trusting he is, and also that might serve him to having some negative outcomes in the future. But before I really dive into that, let's talk about Arslan and his council members, his council, counseling him throughout his war efforts. So, Arslan is obviously showing qualities of a very good king. I mentioned this quite a bit, but to be a good king, you need to be able to listen to your counselors. You need to know everybody's different perspective about this. You shouldn't just make the decisions on the fly. You should take time to think about this and discuss it with your advisors and different things like that. And to see how Arslan in this episode, like, he was at a critical moment. He was at a very good critical moment where he had to decide if he was going to believe in Rajinda and actually go with him, or like let him go by himself and split off, or work together and go down one path. And this was a very crucial moment. It might not seem like much, but easily Arslan and his army could have been used as a decoy and been slaughtered and killed off, and then, the other prince could have just walked away unscathed and be fine. So there's a lot of issues, and I'm glad Arslan discussed this with his, advisors and asked, like, okay, what should I do, and, what would be the best course of action, and to see how Narcissus, even though he knows it was wrong, and he even complimented everybody, he's like, I'm glad you all are very wise and smart to be able to give, our king this type of counseling, and then to see how Narcissus still said, like, okay, so we need to go with the plan of what the prince is doing, because it's still, keep him at a distance to where we don't have to worry about him cutting off your damn head. But even then, that leads into the next issue of the episode. The assassin that was sent to really just watch over the prince and try to kill him in last week's episode is obviously sent underneath Arslan in this week's episode. And at first glance, this dude saved Arslan. He cut the snake's head off and saved Arslan. And in the act of that, it really shocks me, because you'd think a dude that was serving another family would not care if he, killed Arslan and died afterwards, because that would be a heavy blow to the kingdom if, Arslan's head just went flying off his shoulders. So the dude had a very compassionate heart, from what I can see. Like, that dude that saved Arslan and then Arslan saved. I don't necessarily think that dude is going to be an issue for Arslan. Like, I think he might honor Arslan now after what Arslan did. But if Arslan continues to do what he does to other people, for instance, letting them free when they've committed a grave sin, that's going to backfire in the future, because not everybody has a kind and sweet heart. I mean, you let the wrong person go, they're just going to come back maybe a month, maybe a year, maybe even 5 years later, and they're going to fuck you hard. They're going to stab you in the fucking ass, and, you're going to die. And so, you gotta wonder about that. I mean, Arslan, if he continues using this compassionate heart of his, it's going to really affect him in the long run, because he's a king and he needs to know sometimes he has to be stern. Even if he's very kind, he wants to be kind, he needs to be stern at times, because that could cause it to where people look at him as if he's a weak king and will not sit up and do things for everybody else. So there is a huge issue boiling up here in this episode, and I wonder if Arslan will be able to learn from this experience. But overall, though, the episode, I actually personally enjoyed it. I mean, the episode's animation, all that looked pretty damn good for the episode. I mean, the CGI, for the most part, for typical Arslan, it actually looked good. It didn't look as, like some CGI I've seen from this anime series. So yeah, Arslan this week, very good. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Please be safe. Chibi out.